So first thing I'm going to do, just so we can then test this, I'm going to delete the node.ini from a debug folder. If you cannot see it, go up here in the Solution Explorer and show all files. So I'll right click, delete, and confirm. So if I run the application now, it fails because it does not find the file. You can see the node.ini is not found. So you want to prevent this. If this happens, then we want to be able to still run the application and have default for our configuration to be checked in our form. And that's fairly simple to do. What we're going to do is to use TryCatch block. So when the form loads and it doesn't find the configuration file, we will catch it. So let's do try and catch. And all the code that we created here, with the exception of change font, so I'll select that, accept that, cut, and I'll paste it into try. Change font will run regardless whether we find the file or not, because like I said, if we don't find it, we will set our own defaults, and then we will set the font based on those defaults. But everything else goes into a try block. So we will try to open the file and set it up. Now if we fail, meaning we'll catch exception, the exception we are looking for is file not found. Now we could just catch any exception at all, but we want to be specific here because if there is something other than file not found, then there's a bigger problem and we don't want to run the application at all. But if we don't find a file, then we simply want to create our own defaults for our font. So what do we want to do? Well, we want to first inform the user that the file was not found. So let's do a message box.show and display a message configuration file not found. And the caption can simply say default reset, because that's what we are going to be actually doing here, resetting the defaults. Message box buttons can be OK, and message box icon can be error. And now we will set the defaults. And the defaults will be the same like we have initially, meaning the bold, italic, and underline will be false, and we will set the small size for the font. So let's go to menu, bold format, and uncheck it, and set it to check equals false by default. Then we'll go to menu, italic format, and set that to default false as well. Then we'll go to the underline, and of course that's gonna be false as well. And finally we'll set the small font, so it's gonna be menu small font, so it's the format small size, and we'll check it. So it's gonna be perform click, because this way it's basically like we click on it and we'll perform the event. And once we set the defaults, we set the font to it. So very simple. Let's run this and it should now start. It says config file not found. I'll click OK and the application still starts. And I'll go to format and you can see these are unchecked and we have the small size checked. And to prove that this works, I'll close this and let's say I want the italics to be checked. So this is gonna be checked, so it's gonna be true. And now let's delete the file again because it created it again. Remember, when we close the form, it creates whatever default we have currently. So I'll click view all files and here's my node.ini. If I open it, you can see here's the defaults that we set, and that's how we close the form as well. So once again, I'm going to delete that. And when I run it, it should still run because our defaults will kick in, but this time the italics should be true. So let's start this. File not found. I'll go to format and you can see this one is checked. So our defaults are set correctly. So it's not just some kind of thing going on underneath the hood. This is us setting up the defaults. And now I can go and set anything else I want because now the file is going to be created once we actually close the form. So I'm gonna check bold, italic, and medium, close the file, and again I'll go to Solution Explorer, show all the files. You can see it was created, When I open it, now we have the bold and italic, and we have the medium. So when I run this, those are the formats that are now checked, because even though the first time around the file didn't exist, once the form closes, it creates it. And it keeps the configuration that is current at the time when the form closes. Alright, so now we made our node editor a little bit more robust. We do not necessarily need the configuration file. If it's not there, we create our own. So if the user deletes it, it does not make the application unusable anymore. We are still able to use it and simply use the default values that we set. So I hope this whole Notepad exercise was interesting for you. We definitely got to work with some interesting concepts here. So I hope you picked up a few new tricks. I hope you liked the tutorial, and I will see you in the next video.